Vegan being a relevant subject because it's January, and while you and I don't particularly subscribe to it, there are the two January things.
Yeah.
Oh, there's probably loads of others, but there's Veganuary. Oh, very lovely little
pun,
clever wordplay there.
Yeah.
And of course, Dry January.
So this week is the ingredient / dish we're going to talk about is a smorgasbord.
What a word.
It's my favourite word. It just rolls off the tongue.
Do you know, I was thinking when I was scribbling down my notes for today's episode that smorgasbord would have been a great name for the podcast if it weren't called Stuffed.
It would be, wouldn't it? Next one, just in case this one doesn't work out.
A spin-off.
A spin-off. We can change our names. But yeah, smorgasbord, I suppose it's like a loose term. It's like a Swedish or Scandinavian term for almost like a buffet.
Yeah.
But it's one of my favourite ways of cooking. And then I think a lot of people always ask, like, how do you cater for big numbers? And doing a smorgasbord allows you to cater for a lot of people because no one can be too picky and prescriptive over what they're going to eat. So you can do lots of little things and go, oh, I'll have a bit of that, or I don't like that. But then it doesn't matter. You know, if you always make someone one big dish, then you're like, they've got to like this.
And I tell you what else I think with a smorgasbord approach is you're not limited by quantities. So, you know, if you're kind of what I mean is, you know, you can do a small amount of one thing because it's just part of a whole collection.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing one dish for, you know, a dozen people, you kind of go, we've got to go and get and then you're ending up going and buying loads of ingredients, loads of stuff in your fridge that you're not using because it's not part of that recipe.
Yeah.
Whereas an environment like this where you go, I've got some carrots, I'll do that with those. I've got some beetroot, I'll do that with that. Whereas if beetroot was the main component, you'd be out shopping for beetroot and ignoring the carrots.
There you go.
So it's a great way of using up stuff. Also, using up things that are already cooked and going, you know, it's an opportunity to be inventive.
Yeah.
And, you know, experiment and have lots of different little experiments
Little
going
experiments. Maybe we change the name, a smorgasbord to little experiment board.
I think also people are sort of wedded the word. People feel like, it's got to be a kind of Swedish. Is it Swedish?
I think it's Swedish.
Yeah,
they normally do
Yeah.
like beetroot and like eggs and then like herrings and like meatballs and all that kind of stuff. So it's like a real potato salad is a big one.
Yeah.
It is a delicious prawns. They do prawns. Oh,
Yes, nice little open rye bread sandwiches and that kind of thing. However, it looks to me like you've gone in a different direction. This doesn't look particularly Swedish. This
absolutely no. It's gone everywhere.
Where have you gone?
Where haven't we
I think you've
gone?
got. I mean, this is.
Let me press the puppety ping first.
Okay.
This is a smorgasbord.
Well, it's an smorgasbord because ordinarily we will prepare one modest-sized dish for the other person to try. You have excelled, and goodness knows if we're ever going to match the quantities of food. Talk us through everything.
Okay.
Ready, steady, going clockwise, starting from there.
Okay,
Go.
so I made some hummus, but then we've also got some oil, some toasted sesame seeds and harissa, so that's going to go together with that. So you've almost got like a peri-peri kind of exciting thing.
That looks amazing.
Over here, this is the carrot lox, which is the smoked salmon, fake smoked salmon that you wanted to try.
I've had before.
Here we go. So that's that
So
with a
good.
bit of that and a bit of ginger. Then you've got curried beetroot. So you've got some fennel seeds, some cumin seeds, a little bit of curry powder, some oil, some lemon juice and some garlic maybe.
Beautiful.
And that's mixed through a little bit of beetroot, some olives from Tesco's. This over here is some carrots, which I've cut on the old ranjiri, but done roasted.
Go back a couple of episodes, folks.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. So there's a little bit of spice on there, some mint and some garlic and all that kind of stuff. Over here, I'm not going to call it a sausage roll. I'm not going to call it a vegan Wellington. I'm going to call it stuffed in a pastry. So it's butternut squash, some mushrooms, some brown rice, a little bit of soy. Yummy, yummy.
What sort of pastry is that? Is that
puff?
Oh, it's just puff.
Yeah,
right.
they're all vegan from the
yeah.
supermarket when you go and buy them. And then this is almost just like a little onion pakora thing.
Oh my God.
And you
they
got a
look
mango
particularly
chutney, and I left the dressing at home, which I was really upset about.
And you've got this amazing
Oh,
bread that
P-Day.
looks like a floppy skateboard or a tie or a tongue.
Like a comedy one. Yeah, so there you go. But it's like, you can dip in and grab little things and have a go and have a little eat and go.
I'm going to try some. This I'm particularly excited about. What would you recommend I plonk on there? Some of the hummus?
Want to come and grab? I'll just eat it on its own so you understand what it tastes like first. I mean, yeah.
What's in that again?
Can't remember.
Rice.
Brown rice, definitely. One of those already done pre-packed ones.
Oh, right. Is it? Yeah.
Roasted butternut squash, which was definitely a little bit off. Some mushrooms, some soy sauce, some salt and some herbs.
That's so good.
Yummy. Little onion
What seeds you put on
pakoras.
top of there? Cumin.
Yeah, I think so.
God, that was nice.
Oh, they're yummy as well.
Let's try one of them.
Here's the thing. So, my thing, when people go and think about veganism, especially when you first start, like a lot of friends that sort of like were making the transition, is they look at food as like meat and 2 veg. So if you look at veganism as meat and 2 veg, it becomes very, very tricky. But as soon as you start going, okay, I'm going to branch out and look at all different cultures, like you've got some Middle East and you've got almost like a bit of, I don't know what that is, Asian style smoked salmon.
Yeah.
And then you've got, Indian pakoras, you've got this, which is something weird. But then again, something like Middle Eastern, Asian flavours. All of these places are 90% vegan.
Yeah.
But you just have to like flex and think about it and then, understand different flavours and you've got some delicious food.
And I would say looking at all of this and it all being vegan, it really brings home the whole problem of veganism being hijacked by pretend meat.
Yeah.
Which I think is the biggest problem, and people will kind of go towards veganism as a healthier option. Thank you very much. As a healthier option to eating meat, but then will live off pretend burgers and pretend sausages, which are so highly processed and full of all sorts of rubbish.
Well, that's it. And it's expensive. It's so expensive. There's one called Redefined Meat, I think they're called, and it's so expensive to even eat the burgers that they have. It's ridiculous. So
talk to me about that, because that is absolutely beautiful. Tell me, first of all, how you did it, and then let's talk about the flavour of it.
Okay. So the carrot locks, you can do it in a couple of ways. So you can either peel your carrots, you get ribbons, and then blanch and refresh in water, and then soak it in soy sauce, vinegar, nori sheet, garlic, and then if you've got sesame oil, put a little bit of sesame oil in. So it's kind of got those Asian flavours. Then you just soak it and let it marinate, and it kind of draws it in. But these ones, I roasted the carrots and then sliced them, so you kind of get a bit more of a bite to them. But the whole reason it works when you take a step back is you've got carrots that when they're roasted become
sweeter, caramelised.
Soy sauce, which is
super salty.
And you got vinegar, which is
sour,
and then if you add a little bit of chili, then you got this whole sort of like,
and then the
nori
giving the umami super. Yeah.
So it's this whole kind of like balance of stuff, and it's even like with hummus as well. Like a lot of people leave out or forget about the bitter olive oil and then the acidity from the lemon, which kind of can lift a flabby tasting chickpea.
And I would say also with hummus, the tahini, the sesame seeds have got a real bitterness too, which really balances out.
And they're all different, like that's why Ottolenghi was always like, taste what you're putting in before like taste the tahini before it goes in. And I always say to people, taste raw ingredients, because if you followed a recipe for hummus and you went, I'm going to chuck that tahini in and then that olive oil in, and you've used a different blend of olive oil that may be really bitter, then it will taint the flavour of that. Yeah. So it's kind of like you have to sort of think about all of these things, but yeah.
What sort of things would you advise if you were doing a smorgasbord? One thought I've got is ways of serving stuff. Obviously we've got a lot of things that need to be in bowls, but I love stuff where you can put it on. I've got at home a huge piece of plywood that I just painted around the outside a border of blackboard paint. Yeah. And then if we're having a smorgasbord kind of dinner, party, we put all the food on that, and then you can write with chalk on the blackboard paint to say what everything is.
Oh, you should do
that's
weddings.
A nice fun. Well, maybe I will.
The George Egg Smorgasbord wedding adventures.
But I was thinking about like putting stuff straight on the plywood, putting stuff straight on the table. That's good fun. Going back to the meal that you and I went for, where we were served our food on the table, and it kind of just gives it that slightly more visceral kind of, hands-on feeling.
There was a restaurant, I can't remember what it was, but they had like a plate, obviously, but then they had one corner of it had something there, and they just had on the plate it just said lick. So you had to pick the plate up and to lick the corner of the plate to get the dish. You do that with hummus.
Beautiful. What other tips have you got for presenting them? One thing an issue I've got is when people do this kind of thing and they put all the plates and they put a napkin on top of each plate, so they stack napkin and plate, and then everyone takes a plate and puts their food on top of the napkin. That does my head in.
That's part of the wine list. You should put that on the wine list.
Do you know what? I'm prematurely putting it on the wine list. I just think have a stack of plates, have a stack of napkins. But when people think, we're getting ahead of ourselves doing that,
they don't need a napkin.
But you know what I mean, though? When people put food on top of a napkin, you go, "What
are you doing?
We're
not at a kid's party."
Napkin. Yeah, no, it drives me insane.
Idiots.
Pile of napkins, or not, a pile of kitchen roll.
Yeah, or just
roll of kitchen roll.
Just a couple of tea towels that you can wash that isn't bad for the environment.
Just a couple of towels.
Just give them some leather. Give the vegans a leather napkin. No, but I think if you're doing a smorgasbord, I think the key is to pick a couple of things that are cold and a couple of things that are hot, so that you can, like, a lot of people get stressed about timings with cooking. And the main thing is like, if you have loads of cold stuff that's already out and you've got to focus on 2 or 3 things to heat up, easy. Life is easy.
And I tell you what, talking of heating things up, I just think generally people stress too much about things having to be incredibly hot.
Yeah.
And actually, things you can't taste things when they're too hot. And B, you know what I mean, though?
You're taking a mick at me because I eat everything piping hot on all my social media.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, though? You can't... But it's like you can't get the flavour in the same way as ice cream. You have to ramp up all the sweetness in ice cream because when it's, either extremes of the temperature scale, you're not getting the flavour, which is why melted ice cream is inedibly sweet.
Oh, it's delicious.
Oh, it's very nice, but you know what I mean? It's too... There's too much... There's more sugar in there than you would put... If you were doing like a warm custard, you'd put less sugar in that than if you were making that custard into an ice cream, whereas a perfect tasting custard, frozen, doesn't really taste of anything.
Maybe this is the world of ultra-processed foods, George. We'd open up a whole tin of worms if we went down there.
It's tricky, though, isn't it? Because, as anyone knows, I became a grandfather this year.
Congratulations.
And my son is, they're trying not to give... Fred, the little boy, any salt and any added sugar and that sort of thing. And of course, that's sensible, but it's also incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, if you look at, it's like if they invented, of course, doctor's advice is going to be, don't add any salt to anything. But equally, if they invented alcohol now, doctors would say, well, no, you can't give that to anyone.
Yeah, where's
it's
the
poison.
fun in that?
You know what I mean? Or similarly, if everyone just walked around and suddenly someone now invented a car and said, we've got this machine that you can get in and you can move it, it weighs a ton. Everyone would go, no one's going to be allowed one of those.
Oh, let's just rewind to when our grandparents were there and just go, they were all right.
Yeah.
They were fine.
Yeah.
It's
everything
just
in moderation.
Advances in whinginess.
Moderate.
Advances in moderation. What would be your go-to vegan dish, though, if you had to cook a vegan dish? Because we've talked about smorgasbord, but what would you, if you were...
If I was in a hurry?
Well, I don't know, just if you wanted to eat something vegan.
Well, if I was in a hurry and I wanted to make something vegan, Marmite spaghetti. Marmite, margarine, spaghetti.
Is margarine vegan?
Well, if you use a vegan margarine...
Butter,
clover.
pasta.
Yeah, I mean, if I was doing it non-vegan, I'd use butter.
I love clover.
Yeah, but that's buttermilk, so that wouldn't be. We used to clover. I remember when clover came out, my dad was always saying spread straight from the fridge because that was their tagline. Anyway,
that sounds disgusting, though.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. What? Although actually, I would, because I'm, as you well know, a Bovril apologist.
Senor Bovril.
I would say, well, it's not going to be vegan. I'd go butter and Bovril with pasta because that's really beautiful. But if you were doing it for a vegan, I'd go margarine and
might as well just stick some chickens and chorizo through it as well while you're at it.
You like Bovril?
I do like Bovril. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
In a little cup. Mum and Dad used to give it to me after football.
I see, like as a drink.
Yeah.
Because I like it as an ingredient on pancakes. Very nice. Anyway, this isn't
what
very vegan,
are you going? Where
it?
have you diverted us to, George's
I don't know.
World.
We just started talking about Bovril, but I love it.
Bovril and spaghetti.
Yeah. What would be your go-to vegan dish?
This. I've done it for you.
Well, it's beautiful.
No, I'm a big rice fan. Something pilafy. It doesn't have to have like meat or tofu or anything like that. I would literally just do like loads of veggies and then some kind of like pilafy rice dish with some yogurt. That's what I missed. That's why I couldn't be vegan.
It is so difficult, isn't it? That's the thing.
Soy yogurt just tastes like cardboard.
Yeah. No, it's weird, isn't it?
I
just find the kind of soy milk as well, is just that slightly vegetably back note, which never, especially if you're using it for something sweet.
And it always curdles when you put it in. Oh, sorry, vegans.